So just had this vision for creating some kind of a brand, and now it seems obvious. We sell water to provide water, but had this vision that we could totally change the way people think about purchasing water and give them an opportunity to be part of the solution.
This is Joe Phoenix, and welcome to episode number 2 of the IVI Podcast, where we talk with innovators and visionaries challenging the traditional definition of impact. My guest today is Kim Reilly, co-founder of Everybody Water, a for-profit company founded first on the idea that everybody deserves access to clean water, especially women and girls who spend hours a day collecting water instead of learning and earning. Everybody Water was built with very little fanfare and a lot of bootstrapping, and I think you'll love this impact story. So let's dive right in. Kim Reilly, welcome to the IVI Podcast. Great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be fun. Full disclosure, Kim and I have known each other for about a decade, maybe a little bit longer.
I think so. Yeah,
and Kim's partner, Megan Hayes, I have known, let's just call it, for decades. We don't attach a number to that. But
I think you were childhood friends. So
we were childhood friends, yeah. She and her brother were friends, very close friends, still are very close friends of my brother. But I kind of latched onto that, and, we've just been great family friends for 4 or 5 decades now, something like that. So my point is that I've been watching Everybody Water since you all started it. And I've been actively just kind of seeing how you all progress. And so this one's exciting for me because, not only are you a friend of mine, but you're doing something that I think is super cool and impactful. And it just fits right in to what these podcasts are all about. So if you're ready, let's jump into it.
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. So let's get through the kind of prerequisite of all podcasts, which is tell me a little bit about what Everybody Water is. What's the company's vision? How did you come up with that? We'll get through that, and then we'll get into some of the really cool stuff that you all are doing.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Well, okay. So Everybody Water goes back to just before 2017, I think the end of 2016, my really good friend, Megan Hayes, who's also my neighbor here in Cohasset, Massachusetts. And we just started talking over time, really about sort of what were going to be our next steps in life. And we were both entrepreneurs in different fields.
Successful businesswomen before this, right?
Yes, but in very, very different fields. And I personally was really looking for a change in direction. I was looking for my next chapter to have more meaning. I have 2 young daughters at the time, and I thought, wow, they're like watching everything I'm doing. I want them to watch me build something that can make a difference in other people's lives, in some way improve lives. And what was I focused on? And Megan and I talked about that a lot. She was at a similar point in her life. There's so many ways that you can help people, but for us, we both were really drawn to the power of clean water, access to clean water, and having clean water infrastructure, and really the struggle that people have globally living without it, especially women and girls.
I listened to, I think it was like an NBC interview that the two of you did. It was somewhere in Boston. And Megan had mentioned that the way you got to Everybody Water was the vision was empowering young women and girls. Yeah. And you realized that water was the key to empowering young women and girls in a lot of places. And I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, we don't think about it, but when you don't have water and you have to spend all day collecting water, which is usually left to women and girls because they're doing the household duties of washing, cleaning, bathing, cooking. They need water. they don't go to school. They can't have a paying job. It takes 5-7 hours a day to collect the kind of water that you need to survive. And usually it's not clean water either. So people are very often sick and all of that. So it's one of the biggest barricades to education. And it has a huge disproportionate impact on women and girls. So yeah, this is something we wanted to get involved in and try to make a difference in some way. We met with a lot of different nonprofits, all the big ones actually, that working out of the US that are focused on water and sanitation infrastructure. And we're really impressed with a smaller but highly impactful group out of Seattle, Water First International. Their work was not in any way a Band-Aid solution, like many are focused on pumps and wells. Their solutions were community-led organization that would have a permanent solution to build permanent infrastructure in an entire community, bring sink, shower, toilet into every home. And that's really where you end the cycle for women and girls, so they can begin to thrive and focus on other pieces of their lives.
So, as you know, this is called the Innovators, Visionaries, and Impact podcast. You all check a lot of those boxes. Obviously, your business is super impactful. Where do you fall on the spectrum? Are you the visionary? Are you the innovator? Are you a little bit of both? Have you thought about that before?
I guess you'd say it's a little bit of both. I mean, I'd start with visionary. Yeah. When we realized that this problem existed and that there were solutions out there, we thought, how could anybody not get behind helping out? Who would not want everybody to have clean water?
Right.
And so just had this vision for creating some kind of a brand, and now it seems obvious. We sell water to provide water, but had this vision that we could totally change the way people think about purchasing water and give them an opportunity to be part of the solution. Yep. And so I guess the vision was quite big, and that was that we could make this and build this into a big global brand and partner with great businesses to ultimately sell a more sustainably packaged water here in the US and eventually maybe overseas, but to be able to take portions of those revenues and fund permanent infrastructure that could be life-changing for others.
Well, it's interesting because as I've been talking to people and thinking about this, when you think about the words visionary, innovator, and impact, right, or throw them in whatever order you want, I think that in general, if you look at like the way that it's portrayed, there's a triangle, right? And the visionary sits on top, and then you have the innovator that's kind of sitting in the middle, and then you have all of the people that execute on the bottom, right? And that's kind of traditionally how you look at it. My view is that you have to turn the triangle upside down, right? Because it's one thing to have a vision, right? And you can have this wonderful idea, but if you don't have people that are helping you innovate around that vision and expanding that company, and then most importantly, you don't have an infrastructure in place that allows you to kind of execute on that, that vision can just die before it really gets moving. So yeah,
no, the reality of it is another thing. It's a good thing we didn't know everything we needed to do to make this happen. I'm not sure we would have got started, but we both are very much roll up your sleeves kind of mentality and just, we can do this. We're going to do it. We're going to take it on. It's a good idea. And so, but ultimately, like you said, I mean, things become about scale. So you need a team, and the company itself needs to innovate in order to be able to grow in a big way.
Yeah, it's funny because somebody asked me the other day where I fell in that spectrum. And I definitely am that little triangle at the bottom, and I've got all these people that are innovating around the company, and then this broad group of people that are kind of executing on what we're building.
Yeah.
But I think so much time is spent on that little visionary piece, we kind of forget the other aspects of it.
Yeah.
But,
well, I think that the innovation piece for us was really, I mean, water, unflavored water is a very crowded space. There's just hundreds and hundreds of brands, and it's hard to differentiate. But I think we innovated on the brand level quite a bit by creating a water that's really defined by compassion, a water that has a huge storytelling component to it. And yes, we have a sustainable package, and that's a big driver to our sales. But I think the innovation on the brand level is really, on the engagement level and making this really a water that's about human connection.
So is it fair to say then that you started at impact? You and Megan are changing careers, thinking about what you want to do. You mentioned that you want to do something that your children would remember. So you started at impact, and then you fit the vision and the company into it. Is that a fair way
absolutely.
Because sometimes you fall into impact, right? You start with the for-profit side, and then you fall into the impact side, but it feels like you all went the other way.
We did. I mean, we absolutely knew what we wanted to support and what kind of a difference we wanted to make, but what kind of business, having a packaged water business definitely came second. And when we realized that was where we needed to go, that was a business that we could scale large. That was a way that everybody could be engaged in a simple way. Then we of course we didn't want to contribute to more plastic water bottles. So we looked at all kinds of other packaging options, and we landed on the carton for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I've got this right here. We'll touch on this in a minute because, you buy water, it's in a package, you don't really think about it. I did a little bit of research. It's pretty cool what you all built. Let's talk a little bit about the early growth stage. So how long have you been at this? I mean, I feel like you all have been at this as long as I've been at it, like 7 or 8 years, something like that. Is that about right?
Well, we launched the product actually in 2019, at the beginning of 2019. So it was a little more than 2
right before
years
COVID hit.
Development. Fun. Yeah. So we were on the market about 15 months before COVID hit. When I say on the market, I mean, this was an enormous leap of faith. Okay. We had a minimum run on the package of 5 tractor trailer loads, and we did not have a single customer or distributor.
Been there.
It's chicken egg situation. You really can't get one without the other. So we had this massive shipment arrive, and we had no choice but to pack up our Jeeps and start knocking on doors and talking to what we thought would be like-minded people and businesses. And it really started out with very small businesses in areas where we felt that there were a concentrated number of businesses in resort towns, like in Stowe, Vermont, of course in our backyard on the South Shore of Boston, places like Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, basically all the places we could drive to with the water in our car, and had to deliver the water like week after week until we got some critical mass and were able to convince a small distributor to take us on so that they could sell to them and they could start making the deliveries. But
the vision is always the fun part. It's the easy part. You sit around, you have a whiteboard, and you're throwing a bunch of stuff up there, and everyone feels real smart. And then the innovation thing is kind of cool because you start to put it together. The execution side is literally the pain in the ass part, right? It's like put the water in the car, drive into Boston and beg someone to put it on the shelf. I mean, that had to just be
and then
unbelievable. And it's hand-to-hand combat, right? I mean, it's incredible.
And then get them their next delivery the following week.
Right, because you promised the next delivery, not even knowing how that next delivery is going to occur. Yeah, I mean, you're talking my language right now.
Yeah, and so it was a family affair for both of us. Husbands were always on packing the car duty and the kids. So for sure, That's what it was all about. But right away, we knew that we had something because people just really connected. They had a problem on their hands. They wanted to get an alternative to plastic water bottles, but they wanted to support women-owned business. They wanted to get behind our mission, and they loved the taste and the look and feel of the water. But that's how it started. I mean, it was absolute. But it's a good thing, I think, also that we went about this in an untraditional way as a beverage company. Again, we came at things differently, and I think that helped us differentiate in the market as well.
Boy, I have so many questions here. I'm going to kind of go out of order on this because this one just spurred. So I think one of the big pieces of starting a company is capturing attention, right? You may have this phenomenal idea, but the market is just massive, right? You have massive competitors that are already in the space, right? You run this thing out of your homes and the backs of your cars, right? You're going kind of door to door. How hard have you found it to actually kind of get to that scalable? All right, now we have the world's attention, right? And things are starting to move. Did you experience that kind of one step forward, three step back type of early stage experience?
Yeah, I mean, sure, with every business, you try certain things and they don't work, or they take much longer than you think to happen. But our approach was really to start with the best businesses in categories and partner with those. And when we knew that the best businesses, whether it was a financial institution or it was Fidelity or it was the ICA Museum in Boston or the Boston Public Library or the best juice bar in Nantucket, they wanted to
Pink
work
Carrots
with
behind me. I put their bag up there just because I like their bag. But
exactly. And so I think we had a lot of validation early on from great businesses, and that feeds itself. Once you have one great business, it captures the attention of another. And so with our growth at every level of scale, that's been the case, starting out really small, but then as we've grown nationally, it's been with the best businesses. So that's been really helpful. I think that one of the hardest nuts to crack, though, is the distribution piece, because it's like putting pieces of a puzzle together. You want to work with certain customers, but they're working with a different distributor. And then getting a new distributor, onboarding with them can take almost a year with each major distributor, and that's just to get started with them. Then you have
and the clock's ticking, and you've got this year, So one of the questions I had was early barriers to entry that you all experienced. So the distributor one was obviously one of those.
Well, the distributor piece is huge. I mean, it's a complex relationship, distribution. You really can only work with distributors when there's proven demand in the market. And you usually, even when you're working with large distributors, like we work with Cisco, for example, or Gordon Foods, you have to establish demand in a local market and then over time grow with them. And so that's
it's chicken and egg again, right? Because they're not going to distribute if you don't have that. If you don't have that network, but you need the distributor to grow the network.
Yeah.
How'd you overcome that? Yeah.
Well, baby step with different customers that force that demand. But again, it took sometimes 15 months to get properly stocked to service that customer. But now we're at a different stage where we're already stocked, so now we can sell into new customers a lot more easily. And then, but the other really giant barrier to entry, I mean, it seems like something everybody could do is sell water. Water is heavily regulated, so there are 22 states that require permits to sell water. They have pretty hefty regulations in place. And a couple of them are very hard. It took us a few years even to get those kinds of permits. Ultimately, it's a consumer safety regulation, but it's not easy to attain. So
there are regulations everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that was most surprising to me is how many. I mean, first you get through the federal regulations, then you realize that you have state regulations, and in some cases you may actually have like city or community regulations that you have to jump through. So
well, exactly, yeah.
And that comes back to your earlier point of if we would have known how hard this was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
When we realized what kind of regulation was in front of us, that was like, oh my gosh. But we did it. We're persistent.
Almost every company that is successful and is seeing success like you all are had one or two early customers, right, that kind of got you over the hump. You're out there doing it, and it was that early customer that kind of gave you life, right, gave you some additional oxygen that you could work off of. Did you have that? Was it similar?
Yes, we've had a couple at different stages that have been key to expanding our distribution and growing our sales. Probably one of the most notable is Jeni's ice cream.
Yeah, we know Jeni's ice cream. One of
everyone's favorite brands out there.
Absolutely.
And it's really fun to be their in-store water because I realize now just how popular they are and how much people love ice cream because our whole team is always getting texts from their friends and family all over the U.S. whenever they pop into a Jeni's ice cream and they take a picture of our water. So, Jeni's ice cream, another women-owned brand, was really attracted to what we were doing, both on the sustainability front, but also as a woman-owned brand that is uplifting women and girls through our mission.
How'd you find them? Right? I mean, it doesn't seem like an ideal fit, right? It's but it is. I mean, it is. My come from the ice cream world, so water and ice cream go extremely well together. But how did you land on that?
Oh, we were introduced to them through one of our distributors who thought we might be a good fit, but we were still very young in our distribution relationship, and we didn't have the stocking nationally to be able to service that account. And the customer, Jeni's, was just really serious and really determined to make this happen. And you really need that. You need the customer to push it along. The distributor was great too, but I mean, without that customer demand and dedication to all of the details that need to happen in order to ensure that product is stocked at the appropriate levels at each location, we really appreciate that opportunity. It not only has helped us grow our business in terms of the sales and the impact that we can make through their sales, but really it was a big stepping stone in our distribution capabilities. So once we had achieved that level of stocking, it was something that enabled us to service more and more accounts in other markets.
Well, Jeni's is a very forward-thinking company from what I've seen. I mean, we do some work with them on the giving side. They're very early for the size of the company that they are. Very active philanthropically. So it doesn't surprise me how well they link together. But someone taking a risk early on you all is super important. And as I said, you can have the greatest business in the world, and if you can't find customers that are willing to take a risk on you early, it just makes it a lot more difficult. So
and I mean, it really speaks to their commitment to social impact, environmental impact, and that's true for many of our customers. Most, I mean, our product is not the least expensive product on the market. It costs more to buy everybody water, but some things people want to pay for, because there's quality and there's purpose behind it. And so Jeni's really cares about their partners, about their ingredients, and the people behind the brands.
Well, that's a really interesting point, actually, because how do you attach that? Is there a way that you attach that purpose so that when somebody goes in, because, the average person buying water is walking down a grocery aisle and there's a full aisle of waters, right? And you're in a hurry and you're just kind of grabbing something. And if you're shopping by price, to your point, you're probably falling outside of the price range that the kind of big producers are positioned in that market with. Mm-hmm. But if I knew why that price was where it was and what that water was doing, it would impact the way I make that decision. So how are you getting that consumer to start to think about that? Have you all spent any time thinking about that?
Yeah. Storytelling is a big piece of our brand.
Right.
For sure. And presently we don't sell in grocery stores, actually. We sell really through food service partners, hotel partners, food accounts like Jeni's Ice Cream, restaurant operations, events companies. What do they have in common? They typically only choose one water. And they choose a water that they want to make a statement with. And they want to put a spotlight on the story of the brand. And that's what we do. We also like to highlight their contribution to our impact. So we give 3% of our gross revenues to support these water infrastructure projects. So that's quite significant.
So let me just stop there, because 3% of gross is different from 3% of net. Right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that comes across. You guys are giving 3% off of your top line revenue number.
It's a significant,
impressive.
Yeah. And, we did that because we wanted to be aggressive in our give back. We wanted to make a difference also right away, not before we were profitable as a company. We wanted to be able, like the minute we sold that first case of water, to be able to give back to these projects. And food and beverage business takes years to become profitable. So we didn't want to wait for that. We also wanted to have full transparency with our give back. When you base it off of profits, people don't really know what portion of their purchase is going towards the impact itself. So it's the most transparent way to approach a give back. And the exciting piece is that because we base it off of the top line, we know exactly how much our customers are contributing to the impact. So right now we estimate that for every 355 12-pack cases that we sell, that enables us to give enough money to bring one person running water, sink, shower, toilet in their home. So when we have a large hotel customer or Jeni's Ice Cream, we can tell that story. We can point to exactly the impact, where the community, who's being impacted, how many people live there, how many children, how many schools, and then they can share it with their teams. They can share it with their customers. They can share it with their employees. It means so much to the employees, and that's something that I came to appreciate and over time as we worked in more and more of the hospitality and restaurant sector. So many people that work in these industries know firsthand what it's like to live without clean water in their home.
Right.
It means so much for them to know that the company that they work for cares and is intentional in what they're procuring. So that's how we differentiate ourselves in a big way. It's really different than most brands. But first and foremost, you can't underestimate the product itself, the taste,
right,
and the packaging, the look, the branding, the elevated look. That's paramount. really.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I want to get to both of those things in a minute. It's interesting just to kind of round up on this one. So my wife went out searching for Everybody Water yesterday so I could put those up there. Mm-hmm. And she knew that you all were sold in the pink carrot.
Yeah, that's great.
And when she went in there, and when she went in there, and I'm not sure I'm representing this properly, but I guess there was a picture of you and Megan behind the water, right?
Yeah.
And that resonated with her, right? She came back and said, that's super cool because I walked in, now I was intentional, I was looking for it, but when I went over, I saw both of them. I knew they were a women-owned business. It aligned me with the brand. So she thought that was, I just thought that was super smart, and it's a subtle way to just reinforce that you're different in a marketplace that can be, very kind of similar, very.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
That our journey story, I've never been one to want to put myself out there, Megan too, but we've embraced it because that we've learned that the journey story is really important to people.
It is.
It's nice to know that there are people behind the brand, and also I think that a lot of people feel inspired by the entrepreneurial journey as well. So
yeah, you all are taking a big risk. I mean, you're trying to make a big impact and you're taking a big risk, and that resonates with people. I agree with you.
Yeah. So it's fun. I do love to share our story. It means a lot that people want to listen.
Well, let's dive into that for a minute a little bit, because when we were talking about barriers to entry, I mean, the one that popped on the top of my head is you are women in a male-dominated business world. And I think that this resonates across various industries. So people who are listening to this will say, I know and I understand some of the challenges that you all face. Could you talk a little bit about that and kind of how you leveraged that, overcame that?
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of your all story, isn't it? I mean,
no, for sure. There are so many businesses that have wanted to support us because we're women owned also. And that's been great. But it's also been kind of funny at times. I mean, especially on the distribution side, that is largely male dominated, so it's kind of like one of these things does not belong when we're at the big food shows. And one of our signature colors with the brand is blush, which isn't something you see very much.
Right. Real men wear blush.
With water. Right. Our tagline is water with a heart.
Yeah.
So we're a little different, but I think sometimes we shock them, but it does get their attention a bit. But yeah, I mean, before we launched the actual product, we had some tough conversations. We were just talking to everybody we could in the industry, and we had a meeting with a potential distributor who basically told us that us ladies were just crazy, and who did we think we were going up against, Coke and Pepsi, right, that we were never going to survive. So
right. Yeah, don't you love those conversations?
Oh God, I mean, that was brutal.
You just walk out of there and it's like, okay, it's game on now.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was really fortunate that immediately after that meeting, we had a meeting with the nonprofit that we support, and it just listening to them, being reminded of like why we were doing this, it turned us right around, and it gave us all the motivation that we needed. But I mean, as an entrepreneur, you just told no a million times, and you've got to keep moving forward. And I have the mindset all the time, when one door closes, another one opens. And
right.
The more I lean into that as a habit of thinking, the more successful I am. And I can't waste any time on things that aren't working. I have to focus on what is working.
Well, being told no is not gender specific as an entrepreneur.
Not
right?
at all.
And
no.
I've always found that I walk out of the meetings where people tell me that either I'm crazy or this thing isn't going to work, or there's already people in the space. that is highly motivating. But to your point, when you start talking to the end results of why you're doing this, it does level set you very, very, very quickly. So
yeah, you can't let any one thing get you down too much.
And you've had support. I mean, so there are hurdles that you have to overcome, but then you've also had really strong support from women in business, right? So we talked about Jeni's. I know that you all just got into Goop, which is unbelievable. Yeah. It's funny because I'm sitting here and I've got this. I don't know if this resonates with you, but this is what's called Goop Glow. And my wife started forcing me to drink that like 6 months ago.
Yes.
Real men do use Goop products, by the way.
Oh yeah. They're so good.
Now I'm just like, I'm an addict. I have to have it. I have to have it every day. But that company, obviously Gwyneth Paltrow, unbelievable founder story there. Tell me a little bit about, because it's one thing to walk into a small company and talk to them about what, it's an entirely different thing to try and go in and land an account the size of Goop. So how did you all do that?
Well, I'm really proud of that. We just launched with a division of their company called Goop Kitchen, which is popular in Southern California, and they're a growing brand of incredibly innovative, healthy, delicious food, primarily for delivery and catering. And it is a unique concept. They prepare the foods out of ghost kitchens, and it's just fabulous. If you haven't tried it and you're in the area, it's something to get for your hotel room for sure. Well, I was very fortunate to meet Gwyneth Paltrow's business partner at a food industry event, and he quickly introduced me to the head of culinary for the brand, Kim Floresca, and her colleague Brent Perino. And they are just wonderful human beings as well as incredibly talented chefs. And I was out on the West Coast, and within a matter of days, I found myself at the headquarters there, and immediately connected with them as people who really care about everything they're doing and their team and everything that they're procuring. So they identified right away with Everybody Water, and of course the taste was most important. I mean, they are a kitchen and they want to offer the best products. So I felt very proud that they loved the taste of the water as well. And it took a while. Nothing really happens quickly. It took a while, but we just launched as their water on the menu in March. Yeah, and we launched with International Women's Day. So they did a wonderful promotion of Everybody Water with orders that day, and a little postcard telling about our brand story and some posts on social media. So just couldn't feel more proud. And then my background is in design also. And just I really appreciate everything that Goop, the larger brand, does as a brand that's very well edited and curated. And so just to really be part of that in any way is just a huge compliment to me. I am super excited, and their impact is going to be significant. So that's the kind of account we can't wait to be able to tell that story of impact after the first year, really how many people have been affected and whose lives have been forever changed.
Well, they're an anchor tenant and they align almost perfectly with what you all do. And what struck me about that story is, serendipity as a startup is real, right? It's like, okay, there's another conference. Do I really need to go to that conference, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's middle of the week, I got to get on another airplane. I mean, does this really matter, right?
I know.
And you look back and say, yeah, it kind of mattered.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that happens a lot. I think you wonder, are you spinning your wheels? Are you going to filling up your schedule unnecessarily, having so many conversations with people. But I find looking back is if you're persistent and just a nice person and you keep your relationships up, I mean, it's amazing how many things come around in one way or another.
It really is. I think a lot of people call that luck. Hey, you were lucky that they were there, but I don't really, I really believe you make your own luck. And, it's hard and you have to be persistent. You have to be out there all the time. And you have to be advocating for your company and yourself and looking for that opportunity. So that will be a really, really interesting one to follow. And you guys got to be pumped about. I mean, that's, as I said, it's anchor tenant for you all.
So excited. Phenomenal. Everyone loves Goop, so it's fabulous. Yeah. And then I guess the other big one that was super exciting. Again, you have to remember, we have never done any advertising for our brand. we are just gearing up for that kind of thing. Yeah. So everything has been word of mouth and really grassroots. But
it's amazing the power of word of mouth and grassroots.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're out there and doing it, you can get a lot of things done, get a lot of mileage out of those two pieces.
Well, I'm so grateful to so many people who have made introductions and taken the time to just put an email together, that kind of thing. I mean, I try to pay it forward and do the same for others because it can be make or break for people, just a simple introduction. So true. It means so much. But so actually, I think this is going to be this has been our third season. We also launched with Bergdorf Goodman in New York City. So we are the water amenity in store. And again, that was a really validating moment coming from my design background, especially. They were looking to replace their plastic water bottles and looked at every water on the market. And believe it or not, came to us at our info@ email.
Really? Yeah.
They had discovered us in a small inn. Yeah. But again, wonderful team of people. You just never know what's behind a big brand like that. But wow, that company is filled with great people. So they looked at everything and they felt that this was the statement that they wanted to make. So it's prevalent throughout the entire building at all of the stations. It's the water that they hand out. And when we did launch, they invited us to be part of their annual company-wide meeting that they had at the Paris Theater next to Bergdorf Goodman across from the plaza. And they actually played our brand video to 1,000 people and their executives and introduced us as a big new initiative for their year. So it was a really, really exciting moment.
Well, you guys are rolling, no question about it. And I love this. It's almost a luxury and fashion vertical that you all are targeting that really seems to be paying off for you. So congratulations on all the success that you're having. I just feel like it's gonna continue. Now, before we go, because I don't want to leave until we talk about two things, right? I want to talk about the packaging, right? I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about the packaging of this because I think that it's interesting, it's worthwhile. I'd love to hear about just the process, right? So water is not water, right? I mean, you have to source it, you have to figure out how to create it, you have to differentiate. So maybe talk about those two things. And then I'm also interested just in the branding, right? Because Everybody Water's cool. That's a cool brand. That's an interesting name. And I know that I don't know what the story is, but I know there's a story behind that. So maybe we can, this last segment, you can just kind of walk me through the process and the packaging and the brand, and then we'll get things wrapped up.
I'll start with the water. So our water goes through a multi-step process of reverse osmosis and then many different other kinds of filters to achieve a taste profile that people love. It's crisp and it also doesn't have any odd flavors of the packaging itself, like you can get from metal or other types of cardboard or things. We really wanted to source our water from and package it in the same location versus move water around seemed like the least sustainable thing that one could do. So we source it just outside of Ann Arbor, and we do all of the purification and packaging right there on site. The paperboard,
Michigan connection.
There's a lot of water in Michigan.
That's where I met Megan and her family.
I know, that's true.
Years
that's
ago,
the other
right?
Connection. That's right.
It is.
Full circle.
Love it.
So the packaging itself, when we looked at different packaging options, glass, aluminum, we learned a lot about some of the efficiencies with the carton that exist. Because it's paper, because it's shipped in rolls, it's flat before it's filled, versus a preformed container, it takes up a lot less space in trucks. So it was estimated that it would take 26 times as many trucks to ship an unfilled container if it was in glass or in metal. So
interesting.
Love that about the paper packaging. It's also made from mostly renewable resources. So the paper is from FSC certified forests. And those are responsibly managed forests where the trees regrow. And the cap is also derived from sugarcane, which is also a renewable resource. So
this is funny because when I was reading through your deal, I was reading through the information, and it feels like plastic cap to me. But it
was funny. At one point, we considered putting, where it was suggested by some that we put on the package that the cap was derived from sugarcane. But then our attorney said, "Don't do that. Someone will eat it."
Right.
So he said, "Good point. Okay, forget
Good
that."
Good attorney. Smart. Yeah.
People can read about that on our website.
Well, it's incredibly forward thinking because, I mean, you all have been paper from the beginning, right? I mean, and this is kind of it's a very unique shape, right? It's not rectangular. There's rounding to it and all that. But my wife has been on this plastic binge for the last year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And I thought she was crazy, and as usual, I thought she was crazy, and it turns out she's right. I'm the one that's crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, plastic is just everywhere right now, and eliminating plastic from your day-to-day activities, it's almost as hard as eliminating sugar. I've tried both.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
And unfortunately, you ingest it, and it's in your body and all of that. So I think that you all were early to that, and you checked a whole bunch of boxes off, right? You got away from plastic, but now you're in the renewable spot, and it's a product that allows you to manufacture and distribute at a lower cost. So it feels like win-win-win to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. In 2017, we knew that we didn't want to be part of the plastic water bottle problem, but at the same time, it was not the same priority for businesses to switch over as it is now.
Yeah. Are you finding that businesses are coming around to this philosophy? Because business takes time for businesses to change kind of what they're doing. They've been doing it the same way, and
it's a massive
do you feel like that movement is underway? Yeah.
Oh, it's a massive driver of our sales, a massive shift. When we started, it was really the more progressive businesses that were interested in switching, but it's pretty mainstream at this point.
Right.
And in some,
how did you source the materials? I mean, where did you? It's just, these things are fascinating to me, right? So how did you find this? Where did you?
Well, we had spent a lot of time in Europe, and in Europe, water in paper packaging is a little more common, and the carton packaging is more prevalent in general for all kinds of packages. I mean, we see it quite a bit with chicken broth and other kinds of products now. Maybe people have seen it a lot with coconut water, that kind of thing. But It's more popular in Europe. And we thought, well, why is no one really doing that here? So we looked into it, but of course it was very complicated.
Of course it was.
What could be simpler?
All of the world's greatest ideas. You're like, wow, that's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Really so do you source it from multiple places, or do you have one distributor now that's kind of putting all this together for you? Or
yeah, so we have multiple sources, and we have one main water source at the moment, and we'll be expanding on that soon.
Oh, cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah, TBD.
Right. We'll keep our ears open on that one. Where'd you come up with the name? Everybody Water. That's just
everybody should want everybody to have clean water. So that's kind of the idea behind the name. And we played around with a few ideas, but when we said everybody, we just knew we landed on the right name. That's it. Yeah. Everybody Water. So and
just flows off the tongue. It's a great name.
Yeah. So
I did have one question that I meant to ask earlier, but I'll ask now, and that is, so you're small business, you're startup. This obviously, there's expenses associated with all this. How have you funded? Has this been a self-funding exercise? Are you in the capital markets yet?
Yeah.
Where are you in that process?
So we've really bootstrapped this company. It's, we self-funded initially. We had a bit of friends and family investment early on. We did an equity crowdfunding campaign.
How'd that work?
Was really great for us at the stage we were at.
Yeah.
And it was also during COVID. So it was a really great alternative way of raising the capital that we needed really to survive that period and just help us grow a little bit, get our foot in the door with these distributors at that time. We've done some venture debt, but we are also in the middle of a large capital raise now. So
you are?
Really
Excellent.
to take it to the next level. We've got amazing network of distribution and huge opportunities in front of us. So we need
venture
the capital
loves that.
Yeah,
you start pointing to some of this distribution, and venture capital comes flowing.
We've basically done all the hard work. Now we need to scale. So
right. Well, scaling's obviously what it's all about, and when you think about how great companies get started, I think so much time is spent on the focus on VC and getting that external capital, but rolling up your sleeves, bootstrapping it, getting out into the market, understanding exactly what that market is, and really building that foundation before you go get that capital. To me, there's just no better way to grow a sustainable business than the path that you've taken. So
I'm glad we've done it the way we have. I'm glad we didn't rush into channels that we didn't fully understand. We've grown slowly, but right now we have a very strong foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks to me like sky's the limit for you all. I'm super excited for you.
I hope so, Joe.
Did I miss anything? I feel like we've covered a lot. Was there anything that I
we were going to
missed?
talk a little bit about the packaging design, maybe?
Yeah. Let's go through that as kind of the last piece.
Okay, great. People are really drawn to the look and feel of the packaging. That's a big piece of our brand. Just the elegance of it. It's kind of an elevated look. We spent a great deal of time.
How did you come up with this design? I mean, did you all just do this yourself, or did you?
It was a process. Wanted to get it right, knew that we would only have one chance to launch a water brand, and wanted to tell everyone our story on this. How do we tell everyone our story, right? But how do you do that on a small package along with all of the other pieces of information that you have to have on there. And, just telling our stories, just crowding up the package, how do we do this? And realizing that before anybody's ready to listen, we just have to catch their eye. Mm-hmm. We have to catch their eye, and then they can peel back the layers and learn more about who we are. So really set out to build a brand that would ultimately be iconic and capture the essence of our mission and what we're about. How do you do that? How do you create something that's simple? People want simple, but how do you do that without being generic? We tried every font in the world out there and nothing was right. And realized that one of the most fundamental ways we could express what we were doing was through the handwritten human cursive. Yeah. And right. So we worked with an artist who did about a few hundred versions of the word everybody. And we found one that was really just right for a few reasons and tweaked it a little bit. But at the end of the day, this everybody logo, to me, it represents imperfection, that the human kind of quality. It is approachable, it's all lowercase, it's approachable. Yeah. We have success in luxury markets, but we're something that can fit in anywhere, really. And that's what our brand is about, right? And progress. It's a forward-moving script, and I felt that represented progress, improving the world, making a difference.
I love the packaging is simple, right? I mean, the package is white, right? You're not covering everything. The thing that struck me was it begins with everybody water on the back, and this is You've almost printed your mission statement right on the bottle. I don't know if that's an accurate representation of what that is, but it feels like a mission statement to me.
Yeah, that is our mission there. And you can also scan and link to video.
That's the QR code right here on the bottom.
Yeah, that's the QR code. Yeah, and it tells you more. But the simplicity is key, and it's why I think the package really works in so many environments.
Well, it's fun because knowing you all, we're always looking for this, and it pops up in just the craziest places. So I'm fully expecting that it's going to pop up everywhere, and that you guys are really onto something. So really happy for you. Excited to see where this goes.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so we're going to do the last piece.
Okay.
The first podcast that I did, I was telling you earlier, the 99% of the podcast wasn't really commented on, but the last 1 minute of it is what everybody really loved, which was the quick close. So I got a couple of questions for you. And this can be personal or professional, but favorite country that you visited personally?
Well, for sure, that's Honduras, because that's really where most of the work we've supported has been. I've been able to travel there 3 times with our nonprofit organization, and it's been amazing to meet the people on the ground there and to witness the power of community-led organization. So development work is so much more effective when the people themselves are in charge of it. It's not an organization that comes in and does work and leaves, but rather empowers local people to organize, self-organize, and build these infrastructure projects to be maintained for future generations. I've been able to go to the local meetings there to see how people have organized themselves to create life-changing progress in their communities, but then be so well organized that they can then tackle other problems and make their communities even stronger. Some of the organizations have then, after succeeding in achieving water infrastructure, they then have created credit unions so that people have a means to borrow money to build their small farm operation.
Right.
And they create classes for sanitation and health and hygiene. And it's just amazing. The building
Water's
block.
a currency. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously it's what keeps us all alive, but it flows through everything. The question that I wanted to ask was all this impact that is happening around you. Are you all capturing that impact? Are you projecting it out in the market? Because it feels to me like someone's going into the store, water's water, whatever, I'm in a hurry. Are you capturing the full value of the impact that you're having in all these various places? Is there a centralized place that people can go to see that?
Well, the video on the back of our package captures.
Does that?
It's a nice piece there. Really captures the impact and the power of clean water. But we have so much incredible content. We've brought filmmakers to Honduras, to Bangladesh, to capture the stories, the people, the infrastructure itself. It's amazing to meet those individuals, and it's really inspiring. It makes people want to get more and more involved.
Yeah. I think you should, my opinion is you all should lean hard into that, because that's really what differentiates this from any other water company on the planet.
And I think that's really we do, to the extent that we've been able to share it, and those are the kinds of content pieces we share with our customers for them to share with their customers. But that will be the next level for us with our next round of investment, is to really get those stories out there.
Right. Awesome. Best book you've read?
Well, funny that you say that. I have the book right next to me, Joe. This is The Wedding People here.
Wedding People.
It is a bestseller on the New York Times right now. It is also part of Jenna Bush's book club. And much to our surprise, the author mentions Everybody Water in it twice.
No way.
Yes. So Allison Esbeck published this book last year, and it has become a wild success. It's a great story. I think it's very relevant to lives today.
How on earth did how did she cross paths with Everybody Water? Do you know?
I'm trying to find out how she...
Right.
I think that she must have discovered it perhaps at a wedding. Our water's very popular at weddings and inside wedding gift bags and things. So maybe that's how she found it. That's the context in which she mentions it in the book.
All right, and that's something we'll have to pursue after the podcast.
Yes.
Figure out how she came across that.
But it's been really fun because people all over the country are texting us all of the time. Oh my gosh, have you seen this? Did you? Oh my God, my book club is reading The Wedding People. Did you know? So
you're starting to go viral. You really are. This is getting interesting.
Yeah, so that's really fun.
One piece of advice you'd give to someone thinking about starting an impact-focused business?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I recommend it because I believe that it keeps you inspired as an entrepreneur. There are a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges. It is the one thing that keeps you inspired, and it's very motivating. So I recommend it. I think that it can be a challenge on the branding side because you have a mission, something that's really important to you, but it can be a problem that can be heavy to some. So with our brand, for example, it's very sad that people don't have running water, right? So it's a careful balance.
Shocking, really, when you think about it.
It's shocking, yeah. And so I think no matter what cause you're behind, as a commercial brand, you have to be careful on the balance, really, of the product and what people can absorb. and it's important to keep things positive.
Right.
And to not look like a nonprofit, right? You are a for-profit business. So it's overall
I could not agree with that more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that running an impact business, you have to constantly focus on the fact that it is a business, right? It's a business first. And if you're successful in the business, the impact is going to follow. But if you fall back on the fact that it's impact related and you forget that you're running a for-profit business, I couldn't agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it's so important as a brand, no matter what you're doing, impact or not, to really know who you are. But when you're an impact business, that's a big piece of it. And so you have to have clear communications about what it is and what you're doing for everyone, your customers, your employees, your investors. So it's good to have great clarity on that and a careful balance of product and mission. Not easy to do.
Not easy to do, but important to stay focused on, no question about it.
That's right. And then I would have one other piece of advice.
Yeah, far away.
So, I mean, I guess I would say this doesn't apply to just an impact business, but I think before you really get involved or too down the line with any business, I mean, it's about considering scale and how you're going to scale and whether the business can scale. And I think that's been something that I've come to fully appreciate in this journey.
Yeah. You and me both. I mean, scale's all about that top part of the triangle, right? You've got the idea and you've innovated, but can you scale the business?
Yeah.
And can you scale as quickly as you need to scale? Right?
Yeah. And scale is not just sales or production. I mean, those are the two most obvious pieces that you need to scale, but scale is about your entire operations. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's about distribution. It's about all of the things.
It's about your logistics. It's about your supply chain. It's about your financing. It's about your internal communications. It's about getting away from spreadsheets and migrating to Salesforce and things like that.
It's the little things, right?
It's the little things.
All of a sudden add up and they become very important things quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or they become problems if you don't have them worked out.
Right, exactly. So there's a term called BHAG. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Big, hairy, audacious goals, right?
Yeah.
Someone once told me, set one, right? And communicate it out to your organization. And it is like the biggest, most audacious thing that you could come up with, but it's a target that everyone can shoot for. Do you have one of those?
Well, I hope one day we have a Super Bowl commercial.
Super Bowl commercial. Love that. Well, sooner rather than later, because last time I checked, last year I think they were $8 million for 30 seconds. But you run a Super Bowl commercial, things are going well. So that's
the idea. I hope that our brand gets to the point where we really have mass recognition of what we're trying to do and excitement over.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Final question: where can people reach you? What's the best avenue? I'm assuming it's LinkedIn. I'm assuming you.
Yes, me personally, I checked my LinkedIn messages, so that's great. We're also we also take inquiries all the time on our info@everybodywater.com.
Okay.
For sales and distribution, and we will soon be available on Amazon.
Awesome. When's that going to happen?
Probably in the next month, we should be fully operating on Amazon. And eventually we'll be able to sell wholesale in large quantity by the pallet, I should say, on Amazon.
Listen, now you're already talking like a wider distributor. So you guys are well on your way. Well, congratulations on what's been an amazing journey. As I said, I've been following it. You guys were working out of the trunk of your car, literally. Mm-hmm. I remember going down to see Dan, Megan's husband, and he opened his trunk. I went down to play golf with him, couldn't put my clubs in the back of his trunk because it had like 300 bottles of everybody water in there. But
it's crazy.
What an
I know.
amazing,
now we sell.
Journey.
Now we sell by the truckload.
There you go. There you go. Dan's going to need a bigger car. Is what it comes down to. But congratulations to both you and Megan. Best of luck to you as you continue forward. And I'll check back in. We'll bring you back on here after all this great stuff that you're working on starts to happen. And we'll bring you back on. And we'll preview your Super Bowl commercial next time you're on here. So
that would be great.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
So
really appreciate it, Kim.
Thank you so much, Joe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.